I'd like to call the regularly scheduled Plan Commission for the Village of Tinley Park to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, I need to get logged in. Laurie, can you log in for me?
Sure. Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
no problem. May I have a motion to, I'm sorry, let's go to the roll call first. Lori, if you can take a roll call.
Commissioner Bettenhausen.
Present?
Commissioner Gaskell.
Present.
Commissioner Gatto. Here. Commissioner Hamilton.
Here.
Commissioner Manny. Commissioner Merrick.
Here.
Commissioner Sepisi. Commissioner Truxell. Chairman Gray.
Present. Okay, we do have a quorum. We'll move on to communications. Staff, are there any communications for today?
No.
Okay. We'll move on to the approval of the meeting minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the July 20th, 2023 regularly scheduled Plan Commission meeting?
So moved.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Gatto, seconded by Commissioner Hamilton. All those in favor of approving the July 20th, 2023 minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. We'll move on to item 1 for today. Item 1 is a public hearing to consider recommending that the village board grant Christina and Robert Serdar, the petitioner, a variation from section 3.j of the zoning code fence regulations at the property located at 6648 174th Place in the R5 low-density residential zoning district. The proposed variation will permit the petitioner to install a 4-foot-high open-style fence to encroach up to 8 feet 6 inches into the required secondary front yard on a corner lot. May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Gatto, seconded by Commissioner Gaskell. All those in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. I have received certification of the public hearing notice being published in the local newspaper. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter will be sworn in before they speak, but after the staff's presentation. So at this time, staff, please make your presentation.
The site is at 6648 174th Place. So you can see that property bound in red on the aerial above. So it is in the downtown area, slightly southeast of the recent Boulevard development. This is an old part of Tinley Park. That area was annexed in the late 1800s as part of the Votes addition to Tinley Park subdivision. This is a triangular-shaped lot, more or less speaking, and approximate area is a little under 5,800 square feet. So there are some encroachments that exist on the property that are within the secondary front yard. There's the existing old house, which is about 7 feet from the property line. The secondary front yard is along 67th Avenue. The detached garage, very similar, about 6 feet. And importantly, there's currently a wooden picket fence, 18 inches, which is 1'6" off of that property line. These are all legally non-conforming as they were in place before zoning ordinance regulations. As far as the zoning district, it's within the R2 residential. And I have up on the screen the aerial that shows where it's R5. R5, I misspoke. So to clarify, it's R5 as in the staff report. And it is across the street from the Legacy District, which has notably different regulations that include fences. So here you can see, as in the staff report, is a chart of those surrounding zoning district areas. So the adjacent Legacy District is considered part of the neighborhood character, as it's right across the street. The Legacy District has six sub-areas. So specifically, the downtown general and civic areas are part of that Legacy District on the other side of the street. And Legacy District is regulated by our Legacy Code, which is part of the zoning code. And this is a form-based type of code that has more permissiveness to fences. So you can have decorative fences in your front yard up to the property line. They would need to be between 3 to 4 feet in height. Additionally, you could have open and solid style fences up to 6 feet in height, as long as they're at least 15 feet from the property line on that secondary frontage. So as far as the nearby properties, the petitioner, as you saw in the staff packet, provided numerous photos that showed that surrounding character of a few notable properties that have fences in the front yard. So you can see here, 2 residential ones in the area, and as well, one of them being about a block west along 174th, and then that third one is the commercial property, just up on South Street to the north. So the petitioner proposes to replace that current existing dilapidated wood fence with a 4-foot-high open-style fence in the same location. They have made previous efforts to repair the fence over the years, but due to structural issues with deterioration of the wood posts, the petitioner believes this is no longer feasible. Thus, that's why they're coming to us for the variation request. They believe that this type of situation they have with the old fence is somewhat of an eyesore to the community, and by replacing it with something new, it will be an investment to not just their property, but the neighborhood as well. So as I said before, 67th Avenue is the secondary front yard. It's on the corner of 174th and 67th. We define secondary front yards and primary front yards based on the comparison of how long their lot frontage is. So the smallest distance would be the primary front lot frontage. Thus, the encroachment on 67th Avenue is secondary. We also noted in the staff report the locations of, additional ways to permit fences. You could have a non-conforming residential structure and the fence be aligning along with that. And the other, of course, is recently amended in our code earlier this year, is to permit fences at least 10 feet from the lot line. So the replacement, as I said, the fence would only be 1'6" from the property line, and they, by code, they could permit it 10 feet back, or else along the property line. So I'm noting colors here, and you can see here it is, the green is where the proposal and existing fence would be. The red further in is if they were to align with the structure. Thus, in essence, because of the triangular shape in the corner of the home, that would essentially create 2 yards fenced in. And then thirdly, in blue, would be the permitted setback, which would cut into where that structure is. So as I noted before, this is a triangular lot shape, and as you saw, it has very narrow depth to it. So staff has noted that these factors help pose a unique circumstance to illustrate a physical hardship on the property. Notably, the proposed fence will not cause visibility concerns such as access to driveways and traveling through the intersection due to the fact that it is a 4-foot open style fence. So that concludes the staff presentation. I have the petitioners, Rob and Christina Serdar, here in the audience, available to speak.
Okay, if the petitioner would like to speak, they may approach the lectern if they want to. If not, okay, please approach the lectern, and I'm going to have to swear you in.
Sure.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And what was your name again, sir?
My name is Rob Serdar.
Okay.
My wife and I have owned the house for over 20 years, and we just want to, well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to you today. Yeah, we just want to replace the fence with something more secure and, more sightly.
Right, okay. Fair enough. You might as well stay up there. I'm going to
Sure.
ask the commissioners if they have any comments or concerns. We'll start with Commissioner Hamilton.
I could not tell by the exhibits, but are there houses adjacent to you with similar?
The house right next to us, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, the house right next to us has a, if you go back, the 6639, that's the house right next door, and they have a higher fence, and that, I believe, goes up to the lot line as well.
Okay, very good. That's my only question.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Gatto.
No questions.
Commissioner
I have nothing to
Gaskell.
say.
Commissioner Merrick.
No, nothing further.
Commissioner Bettenhausen.
No questions at this time.
Okay. And I myself, I just want to say that I think staff did a good job with the report. On page 4 of the staff report, it does show very clearly that if you did have that, you kind of are separating that north part of your yard to the south, and that doesn't make, you got very limited space as it is
Thank you.
because of the unique shape of that lot. So that does not seem reasonable. It does seem reasonable to have a variation for this because of that unique situation with the geometry of the lawn. I have walked by there with my wife on occasion, so I know that that fence is, I won't use the word eyesore, but it is dilapidated. It really
I would have
is.
done a better job on the bushes, too. Sorry.
So, but I do appreciate the pictures that you supplied to the
Thank you.
staff. And I believe it was 23 years here, and I know you said you had been fixing it up, but now it's past the point of fixing, so.
Yes.
So with that said, you may sit down. I don't have any questions for you, and neither does the commission. So if you want to take a seat, you might.
Thank you.
Yep. So with that, I'll ask if there's anybody in the audience with any questions or concerns regarding this item. Okay, seeing none, I will ask for a motion to close the public hearing on this item.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Bettenhausen and seconded by Commissioner Gatto. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the public hearing is closed. The motion is carried. Staff, can you present the standards at this time?
I have the standards up on screen for variation, first 3 of which we provide drafted findings. First, regarding the yielding a reasonable return. The proposed fence location creates a more useful property that utilizes available contiguous land area otherwise not restricted by front yard regulations. Since the proposed fence will be in the same location as the existing fence, it will not increase the degree of encroachment into the secondary front yard. 2, plight of owner is due to unique circumstances. The property's nearly triangular lot shape and its minimal narrow depth, with the close proximity of the existing house and garage, pose a unique circumstance and illustrate a physical hardship. 3, regarding the essential character of the locality. The proposed fence location will not alter the essential character of the locality. It'll be in the same location as the existing fence. There's a variety of lot sizes and shapes in the neighborhood due to the angled configuration of 67th Avenue and re-subdivisions and reconfigurations of lots over the years within this older neighborhood. The 4-foot open-style fence is also similar to other fences in this older neighborhood, some of which are also located in front yards. And then we have the 4th standard up on screen that does not require findings for.
Okay. At this time, I have a motion regarding the variation.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend that the village board grant the variation to the petitioner Christina and Robert Serda, a variation from section III.J. of the zoning code fence regulations at the property located at 6648 174th Place in the R5 low-density residential zoning district. The proposed variation will permit the petitioner to install a 4-foot high, is it 4 foot 4 inches? Or is it just 4 foot?
4 foot.
Okay, 4-foot high open style fence to encroach up to 8 feet 6 inches in the required secondary front yard.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Gatto, seconded by Commissioner Gaskell. Lori, could I have a roll call?
Commissioner Bettenhausen,
Aye.
Commissioner Gaskell.
Yes.
Commissioner Gatto,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Merrick,
Yes.
Chairman Gray.
Yes. Okay, the motion is carried. Rob and Christina, this item will go to the village board on August 15th. So if you can get with staff on how to attend, then good luck. Okay, we will move on to item 2 for tonight. Item 2 is a public hearing to consider recommending that the village board grant Ramsey El Shafi on behalf of Oak Park by EEP LLC, the petitioner, 2 variations from section 12.d.9 private lot standards, table 2.d.6 of the zoning code. The proposed variations will increase the required interior maximum side yard setback from 5 feet to 10 1/10 feet to 10 1/10 feet, and increase the private roadway's maximum curb cut width from 20 feet to 31 feet. The petitioner is requesting these variations to permit new construction of a 31-unit townhome development located at 17822 to 17828 Oak Park Avenue, zoned within the NG Legacy Neighborhood General Zoning District. Site plan and final plat approvals will also be considered at the meeting. May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Gaskell and seconded by Commissioner Gatto to open the public hearing. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. The public hearing is open. I have received certification of the public hearing notice being published in the local newspaper. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter will be sworn in before they speak and after the staff's presentation. Staff, please proceed with your presentation.
Thank you. This is a public hearing for the Oak Park Towns proposed 31-unit townhome development. This was previously presented at the Plan Commission as a workshop on our last meeting on July 20th. So as per the staff report, any changes noted were in red, and we'll note that in red on the screen. So you can see here from the aerial, the red bounded box is the extent of the subject development. This is about 2.6 acres on the west side of Oak Park Avenue, north of the Union Square development, north of 179th Street. This property has been vacant since the 1990s. The zoning for the property is part of the Legacy District within that Neighborhood General, NG, area. The intent and focus of this is to help maximize walkability. There are 6 areas as part of the Legacy District, so Neighborhood General is one of them. It is classified as a variety of lot sizes and building scale with multifamily dwellings as the primary use. Street frontages have steady tree plantings and can include lawns and buildings from continuous space to form a continuous street wall close to sidewalks. So this is an excerpt from our code. Proposed use is to improve this vacant land with a 31-unit townhome development. The developer proposes to complete this as one phase of construction, starting with the 3-story, 6-unit building fronting Oak Park Avenue, and then progressing west towards the back of the development. The developer anticipates construction to start in spring of next year, to take 8 to 10 months to complete. There are 2 variations being requested. The first is to increase the interior side yard setback from a 5-foot maximum permitted by code to a maximum of 10 1/10 feet. The south side of the development, where the south end units are, the setback there proposed ranges from the 8.25 up to this 10 1/10 feet. And this helps allow for building separation to the adjacent development, as well as for stormwater detention and space between the property lines. The second variation requested is to increase the private roadway's maximum curb cut width from 20 feet as permitted by code maximum to a maximum of 31 feet. This is only for the roadway that runs east-westerly, connecting perpendicular to Oak Park Avenue. This is not for the 3 north-south alleys. So at the workshop, the commission discussed this and felt that, especially for the latter of the 2 items, that it was helpful to have this 31 feet for the stormwater as well, the public utilities easement, as well as for fire access. So that concludes the previously first open item that we had at the workshop. The site plan, I noted it is involving 1 private 31-foot roadway that runs east-west and these 3 alleys that run north-south to serve each building in the development. So that is a total of 6 buildings. One of them is the 6-unit building that fronts Oak Park Avenue, 3 stories with rear-loaded garages. And then the remaining 5 buildings are 5-unit buildings that have front-loaded garages. So the private roadway will access to Oak Park Avenue and serves those 3 alleys. So you can see here, this is the site plan that the petitioner has provided, and following our previous workshop, they made the minor correction to remove these rectangular boxes that were shown on the back of the 6-unit building. So that is a minor change. That was a form of a Scrivener's error in the drawing set before. So they have cleaned that up. I show here with the arrows, Oak Park Avenue is running north-south on the left. North is up here, and the 3 arrows indicate those 3 alleys that run north-south. And that clarification of removing those boxes removed our second open item. Here is the landscape plan. So that remains the same as for the workshop, with the rectangular boxes being removed. You can see there are a row of trees that run on the north of the property, as well as substantial buffering on the west and south, as well as 1 tree per unit within the development. On the south, there are 30 existing trees that are proposed to be preserved. And on the east side, there are 6 trees that front along Oak Park Avenue. So this largely meets the Legacy Code requirements. The Legacy Code has unique requirements on buffer yards and perimeters. So the canopy, shade trees, and other plantings are addressed here. The Legacy Code does not require buffer yards on the northeast or southeast. It depends on what type of use is adjacent, as far as the Legacy Code is concerned. As I noted before, there are several shade trees on the north, and on the south, there are 2 shade trees, and as you go to the west on the south, more of the shrubs and buffer yard plantings start to pick up, and then that wraps around on the west. Notably, on the northwest corner of the property, there's a 40 by 40 foot bioswale with deep-rooted native plantings. So here is an image of what the prototypical foundational landscaping would be. This is for at the unit level, what would surround the frontages of those units. So you can see here that they have the shade trees, it's 1 per unit, and they've been coordinated with other aspects of the project to avoid any overlap of proximity to lights or bike racks, things of that nature. Between the buildings, there are infiltration trenches with topsoil and sod, and a 6-foot-high privacy fence that runs between the rear of the 2 sets of those 5-unit buildings. So that those privacy fences run in a north-southerly direction. There is, the privacy fences as well. There are short privacy fences that are on the edge of the patios for those 5-unit buildings. And air conditioning units are located behind those 5-unit buildings. Again, there are 5-unit buildings and then 1 6-unit building. So for that 6-unit building, which has a different configuration as it faces Oak Park Avenue, their air conditioning units are at the rear, the west side of their property in groupings of 2. Architecture is consistent among the 5-unit buildings to the 1 6-unit building. And they, as I noted before, they're slightly different in nature. The 6-unit building is a 3-story building. The 5 units are 2 stories. These building story heights do meet legacy code requirements. So as you can see on the screen, this is the 1 6-unit building. At the top is the elevation as you would face Oak Park Avenue. And to the side, the 2 sides are located there. You can see they have windows on the sides of the building. And then the rear, which faces west to the rest of the development, has garages with gables on both ends. What's notable about this is it faces Oak Park Avenue, so the developer has made an effort to provide quality variety of details. So there are nested gables, there's subtle difference in color and materials. There's a canopy structure for the front door entries. Windows have some variety in shapes and are thoughtfully aligned. On the rear of the building, those 2 end gables and the windows all have a mirrored look centering from the building. So the 5-unit buildings do not face Oak Park Avenue, so they're a bit simpler in design. Priority was placed on Oak Park Avenue for a quality frontage. The ones behind that also have the same high-quality materials, but with a slightly different design. So you can see here it is a front-loaded garage, meaning the front door and the garage are on the same facade. That's the front, and then you can see there's windows on the sides. On the north unit of each of those 5 buildings, there's also a covered porch. So you can see that illustrated. And then on the rear, there is a sliding glass door and concrete patio along with a short privacy wall for each unit. As far as personal outdoor space, the concrete patio at the back of the 5-unit buildings, those are 10 by 12 feet, and the 6-unit buildings does not have a designated personal outdoor space. This was discussed as an open item at the Plan Commission workshop, and whether or not it would be necessary to require some form of outdoor space. The developer explained the visibility to adjacent bedroom spaces, and thus, due to privacy concerns and the limited number of units affected being 6, the commission did not pursue requiring balconies. So the newly submitted plans, as before, do not contain the balconies. So that concludes the next open item. And then additions and decks was also discussed. So at this time, they're not proposing any form of these additional improvements. But if they did wish to, staff has drafted a condition that would prohibit any sort of additions unless they were to come back to the Plan Commission. So a unified design would need to be provided. So this was discussed at the meeting, as noted here. We can have an architectural site plan approval with this condition. As far as materials, so I mentioned before the materials have consistency between that front 6-unit building and the remaining 5 units. So we have brick and fiber cement siding asphalt shingles, aluminum soffits, brackets, fascia, and vinyl windows. The materials meet code requirements for the legacy code, which is a minimum of 75% of facades and roof, excluding glazing, be of a short list of materials, and a maximum of 25% of certain accent materials. So Hardie panel siding is a notably quality product in the industry. They're proposing that, as well as Hardie's plank lap siding. And I have, on the 6-unit building, there will be additional shingle siding provided. So here, the public can see the tones of brick are a reddish brown with a little bit of variation. And the panel sidings are neutral with a pearl gray and blue. So I'll just bring this around to commission. You see these are the same as provided at the workshop. As far as signage, the petitioner has stated no subdivision signs are planned. If they wish to do so, they would have to meet village zoning code requirements for signage. Parking, the proposal has 2-car garages with a 2-car driveway space per dwelling unit. So being 4 per dwelling unit, this goes above and beyond the code minimum requirements of 1.5 spaces per dwelling unit. This development also has bike racks, 32. We require at least 1 per unit, so that slightly exceeds code. The private roadway has signage as well to prohibit parking on the south side of that private roadway and the eastern portion of the north side of that private roadway. As far as alleys, the proposal is to have at least one side of each of those 3 alleys have no parking in order to allow fire truck access to hydrants. As far as lighting is concerned, there was some open item discussion at the workshop. So the petitioner has revised and clarified the packet. There are still, as previously proposed, 19 site lights. These are 12-foot high Sternberg decorative lights that were submitted from the village to the petitioner. The reason being that it will match the lights present at the adjacent Union Square development. So that remains the same. And then as far as the wall sconces, you can see shown up here on the screen, those also remain as proposed. The quantity has been adjusted. There were previously 91. It's now 87, just removing the 6 that were erroneously placed on the front of the 6-unit building. So 87 of these wall sconce lights. They are 2 flanking each garage and then 1 in front of each unit on the 5-unit buildings. They've also clarified at every front door entry to have an undermount fixture. So you can see from the image on the line drawings, this does not show exactly how the flared wall sconce fixture is, but it is simply a representation to show where that light would go. And then as far as the light spillage requirements, so the legacy code is unique in their requirements. So the code is 0.5 foot candles maximum at the property line, unless additional is required for security or other use without negative effects on the adjacent properties. So the property largely falls below this 0.5 meeting code, and the couple of exceptions that were noted is on the east side along Oak Park Avenue. At the sidewalk, it is up to 2.0 foot candles maximum, and then on the south end of each of those 3 alleys, there is roughly a 20-foot increment of 0.6 on the easternmost alley, and then roughly a 10-foot increment of 0.7 on the central and west alley. So staff has drafted a condition to state that final engineering approved photometric will be required. Lastly, plat approvals. So they are applying for a final plat of subdivision and a plat of vacation. The plat of vacation is for a 10-foot by 100-foot wide portion on the southeast part of the property along Oak Park Avenue. The subdivision is to go from the existing 3 lots to 32 lots. 31 of those lots are for the units, and the 32nd lot is for that common space that would include that private roadway. There are also easements that are shown comprehensively on the drawings provided as preliminary engineering. 20-foot ingress, egress, and public utility easements. There's also stormwater management easements, and it serves areas including those infiltration areas between the 5-unit buildings and the bioswale. This is an image of what that proposed plat of subdivision looks like. So in the motion, we have a recommended condition that plats are subject to final approval by the village engineer and attorney. That concludes the staff presentation. I have the standards up on screen. I also have Ramsey El-Shafei and Jim Doyle representing on behalf as a petitioner, and they're here to be able to provide comment and answer questions.
Okay, does the applicant have anything else to add at this time? And I'll have to swear you in. Just state your name.
Jim Doyle?
Ramsey El-Shafi.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
I do.
Okay, please proceed.
Well, thanks for having me. My name is Jim Doyle. I represent the landlord here, and this is my colleague, Ramsey El-Shafei, and it's good to see you guys again. Thanks for having us, and thank you to the staff, Lori and Jason, for all your help and work on this. You guys have made sure that we didn't design or build this in any way that wasn't acceptable for Tinley standards, especially with it being in the Legacy District and having Tinley's community in mind while doing that. So thank you guys for all your hard work. As you guys stated, our goal is to develop 31 properties within this vacant space that's been vacant since the 1990s. Our goal is to have the community in mind when we do build it, and not simply just think of the bottom line and build it as cheap as possible and disregard the other, obviously Oak Park being very busy and the neighbors around. So we do appreciate you guys listening to us and all of your time. Rams, do you have anything?
Yeah, something I wanted to share is we're not just a single company doing this one development. What's important to know is that this is a business for us, and we have a good long track record of doing not only development, but investing and managing our own commercial real estate. So we have a fairly decent team and that have the capability to do this project in a timely fashion. So just want to give everybody here comfort that this isn't just a one-off job that is going to get forgotten about. We want to get this done quickly and efficiently and provide a good product for Tinley Park.
Okay, I'm going to ask our commission for comments, so please stay up there to answer any questions, probably. We'll start with Commissioner Bettenhausen.
No questions at this time.
Okay, Commissioner Merrick.
I'd just go on the record saying I'm in favor of more dense properties in the Legacy District, which I've shared with staff some of the research on how that's beneficial to communities, especially around mass transit areas. So, and this is pretty walkable from there, so.
Okay, Commissioner Gaskell.
No, I have nothing.
Commissioner Gatto.
I don't have anything further.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Looks like a nice plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I know we hashed some of this stuff out at the workshop, so I don't have much to add as well. I do think it looks nice. I do agree with staff's recommendations, and I do appreciate you guys working with the staff to meet those expectations. With that said, you guys can sit down. I will, at this time, ask if There's anyone wishing, from the public wishing to comment, if you can, please come up. State your name, write it in the book, and I'll swear you in.
Do you want to swear me in first?
Sure, yeah, what's your name?
It's
ma'am?
Lynn Molick. and-
Lynn?
Yes,
Okay.
and we own a building at 17814 South Oak Park Avenue, which is directly north of what the proposed site is.
Okay.
Okay,
And I'll swear you in, Lynn.
Okay.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
oh, yes.
Please proceed.
Okay, I've talked to Lori, and I've visited her with her, and I talked to Jim. And so I'm Lynn, and the neighbors too are Mr. and Mrs. Pappas. They own the building on Oak Park Avenue, and I'm the second building over. Okay, there's like 6 flats, and we just rent, so, but we've been there, I've been owned the building that we have for 48 years, okay? And I was really going to bring my title insurance policy. Our concern primarily is the ingress and the egress for our tenants, okay? But I did talk to Jim, and he assures me that there won't be a problem, which I'm not so sure. But that's our concern, that we have an easement that our tenants go and use to get to Oak Park Avenue, that we maintain. It's, it's on our lot, and for the egress and the ingress. The, another concern that I'm also concerned for the Pappases, because they own the building on Oak Park Avenue. Are the townhomes have the garage underneath? Is that, so they're gonna be going in and out of Oak Park Avenue? I mean, for their,
If I can speak on her questions. So,
Jim, can you come up to a microphone and sit down just so people can hear?
yeah. So, we're,
And just pull up one of those microphones with the green dot
So on
glowing.
this plan, where you see the red circle on the right, that is the first 6 units closest to Oak Park. So there will be garages underneath those buildings. So they will be coming off of 178th Place on that drawing, turning a left in there into their space, and then the other units would be going this way as well, into their garages.
okay, so you're going to actually make a road that'll be called 178th Place, is that correct?
That is correct. Lori,
Okay.
can you go to the landscaping plan, please? So here on the landscaping plan, you can see where your buildings are at the very, very top. And then that is your driveway, and then there is green space, and then that's where we have, those circles are designated trees that will be installed, a curb, and then our road, which, yes, will be called 178th Place.
Okay, so the people on Oak Park Avenue are going to be using 178th Place to get in and out of their garages?
That is correct.
Okay, all right. Another concern of ours is that, we maintain our easement for snow plowing, okay? And I don't know how this is going to work with the 178th Place where you intend to put your snow, but that will be a concern down the road. But actually, I talked to Jim before, and we might be sharing some asphalt contractor with him to make our road a little bit better when he puts in his road. So I don't know. I mean, I have concerns. I'm worried about flooding, with that. And I just don't think that there's enough footage, or you're only using one lot for 178th Place, that there's enough enough division between our set of buildings and 178th Place, okay? I mean, that to me seems just like such a little area, but I mean, I never know what something's gonna look like until it's there.
Right, and it's a fair concern. I know per staff's report, they said through the code, even the north end did not require any trees. They put in trees, I think that's to help screen and to help separate. So I think that I've passed by the existing complex and then your complex, and I can see you got, it's kind of screened kind of nice.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they had made the effort. They didn't have to put those trees in. They're putting them in, and even the ones to the south portion of the road, I think as those grow and fill in, it should buffer, and screen a little bit. And that's, like I said, the per staff, they weren't required to do that. So I think that was a very good neighbor thing to do to add that in, just
Well,
as a.
my concern is that 178th, Street, that's my concern, that it's not going to be, I mean, it's really going to make a heavy traffic area where our buildings are like secluded now. And Jim did say where there were some trees that they could salvage, that he wouldn't, he could use them, he wouldn't pull them out. So that's another, a point that we really need to go over. That's,
I will say this, I didn't know you guys were on communication, but that's a very unique and nice thing for the developer to do, because I think you need good neighbors. They don't want to move in and create disruption. Nobody wants to make people miserable. So I think that is good that you are communicating directly with Jim. Hopefully you can salvage some of the trees that are to continue to keep those screened.
Right.
But in addition, they are gonna plant, per this plan, new trees that should help screen and separate, even though they also have the curbing, that 178th place, which is a private drive from yours. Now, I mean, you were talking about snow removal, perhaps you guys can discuss, because it seems maybe there's an opportunity to collaborate on something like that, but,
well, our 5 buildings, because each are individually owned, so we have someone that we use, and he pushes the snow to all the way to the west of the buildings.
Right.
So I don't know where you're gonna put your snow after you develop this. I mean, that's gonna be a concern too. I'm just
Yes.
letting you know.
Jim, if I could, just to put some context, so from our curb line to our property line is between 8 and 10 feet, which is a significant amount of area when you talk about setbacks for what we're allowed to do.
Okay,
So-
you're talking on not the east side, on the west side? You're at the,
On the north side, along our private road that we're building, 179th Place, which is a new road we're putting in on our property. We're not affecting your easement at all,
okay,
okay? Your
Okay.
easement is only for public utilities, for
Okay.
us to help in terms of stormwater detention, or if we have to get a water main through that area. That's the only thing that we would be using that public easement for. And we would be responsible for fixing any of the turf or damage that we would cause during that construction. We'd coordinate with any of the residents that are affected in that area as well. But there's ample amount of space between our curb line and our property line, okay? And then also, we can push all of our snow to the
Okay.
west as well.
okay, that's what I was wondering, okay.
And to the south of 179th Place, we have plenty of landscape
Okay.
area to also store
Okay,
snow.
okay, all right,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, we're willing to work with you, but I mean, that property has not been developed for 50 years. There was a restaurant right where you're developing now. But that area was never, nothing has been there for 50 years. Because we've owned the building for 48 years. And I think Mr. and Mrs. Pappas have, okay, they're a long time, residents owning the building. But we're not in the same, we rent, and you are intending to sell. So that's another different,
It's rent and, the way, like we discussed on the phone, the way the market will be.
Right.
If we need to
We-
rent and then need to sell,
yeah.
so it's kind of,
yeah.
start out renting, then sell, but it's gonna be, once they're built and determine the market value, if
Okay.
you will. But, like my colleague Ramsey mentioned, that will be a private road, which will have more trees in there. There will be more underground. We will have a curb in there. So if anything, it will improve your.
The way it
your-
looks.
Your
Okay.
side versus
Okay.
heavy rainfalls and the way we will push snow out, snow
All right.
away as well. So we believe it will improve the overall community for not just this development, but the neighbors and, when you're driving past Oak Park and just bring.
My other concern was that, on Oak Park Avenue, they own the building on Oak Park Avenue. So they were very, it's 3 stories. And I thought, well, the 3 stories on Oak Park will not look bad. But and I was really concerned about 3 stories going farther down, but he assures me that it's only going to be 2 stories. And I was glad to hear that, because then it's like our buildings are all, we don't get any sunlight. And I was concerned about that too, but it's nice to know that it's only going to be the 2 stories.
Correct.
So that'll make a difference too. So,
Okay. Any other comments or
I
concern?
don't know. Do you have any? All right. Is Mark? Yes. Oh, good. I'm glad, Mark. I didn't know.
I will.
He's another owner.
Okay, can I
so.
get your name, sir? And then
Name is
I'll-
Mark.
And what's your last name, Mark?
Forzan.
Okay, and I'll swear you in, Mark. Mark, do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, please proceed.
All right. You mentioned there is a buffer between the 2 roads. I mean, I was just curious in feet, how big of a buffer are we talking about? So, because you mentioned there's going to be trees planted, for aesthetic reasons and to kind of separate the 2 properties. So, because I don't have, and it's kind of difficult to tell from a drawing, how big of a buffer are we talking about between 2 properties?
I'm happy to show you on the large-scale drawings
Okay.
if you'd like. But from our curb line to our property line is roughly 8 to 10 feet, depending on where you are on the site plan. From our property line to your asphalt, in
Yes.
certain areas it's a couple feet. In certain areas it's like down to maybe 2 feet. We don't have a perfect site plan of your exact asphalt because it's not our property, we didn't survey it, but we have an estimate based on some other public record drawings. But I do have a drawing that shows an estimated location of yours compared to ours.
Okay, yeah, like it was mentioned, my concern would be about snow removal. So, obviously all the snow is being pushed west, but of course some of the snow, as they remove, it's always going to be, a little bit is going to be to the south. That's just, inevitable. It's there's only so much you can do, with snow. So I mean, I'm hoping, I just want to make sure, that whatever 2 or 3 feet, is sufficient, for some of that snow to, between our properties. So I just don't want that to become, to be a problem in the future, as far as, snow removal is concerned, that, some of the snow, our snow, is like, overlapping, to the property or, so that was my main concern, because otherwise, everything looks good. It just, I would want that, proper buffer, between 2 roads. So, we don't have that snow issue in the future, So, I mean, it seems like 2 feet, at one point, that seems like too little. Maybe, it needs to be a little bit more than.
He was saying they have 8 to 10 feet from the north curb line of 178th Place, which is that new private roadway they're gonna install in. So they got 8 to 10 feet, that property line, and then on that property line, as he said, their surveys didn't go on your private property.
Yeah.
So they have estimations, and they're anywhere from several feet down to about 2 feet to the edge. So you probably got somewhere from like 10 feet to 12 or something like that, but you have approximately 10 feet between the edge of your pavement to the edge of their pavement. On
Edge of their
the
pavement, okay.
narrowest point is what my understanding was. So I think there is, if it was like 2 or 3 feet, Mark, I would 100% agree, like, you're gonna have, because even if you try to plow, you're
There's
gonna
always
get
going to
that
be a mountain
spray.
on the side,
Right,
yeah, so, yeah.
But and it also sounds like,
If I'd like to make a point, we are also further from our property line than these other buildings are. So you guys are actually closer to your property line, if not on it in certain circumstances. So we are actually set back further from our property line, giving us a bigger buffer than what your property currently is set at. So,
Okay.
in all due respect, we're trying to play within our limits, but it is our property line, we're within that. So, and I rest assured, we have over 40 properties that we own and manage. If we have to haul off snow, that's something that our contractors will have to do.
Okay.
That's our obligation as a property owner. Yeah, we don't have the right to push it onto your lot, nor do you have it to push on our lot. And so we will, of course, take care of our responsibility, and if we don't have room on site during a large storm, we will be forced to take it off-site with a snow removal contractor.
Yeah, I mean, I understand all that, yeah, as long as there is a proper buffer between two roads, that's, that's not a problem, so, that was only,
It's a good question. I mean, it's very tiny to see. I know it's up on a screen,
Yeah,
so you don't
yeah.
have a feel for the scale, but I do appreciate the petitioner answering those questions. So thank you, Mark. I
Yes,
appreciate it. Anybody else? Okay. If you can state your name and I'll swear
Peggy
you.
Concanon.
Peggy?
Peggy Concanon.
Peggy, do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Can you
Okay,
just
put-
state your name?
Oh, yeah, please write your name down in the book, too.
Which one?
Item number 2, Oak Park Towns. Mr. Forzen, if you could kindly write your name as well. Thank you.
So I own a townhome on Oak Park Avenue just to the south of the proposed property. And I just have to say, I'm actually happy that you're doing something with it because I think that whole land is an eyesore and a garbage collector because the buildings that they have dumpsters that are constantly overflowing and the garbage is in that area and then comes onto our property. And every day I'm picking up garbage. I'm a little concerned, my question has to do with, are you putting a fence up between your development and our property? And then I heard something about this vegetation that you all seem to be so thrilled about, which I don't think looks very nice. Are you keeping it or are you taking it out?
And you're asking explicitly the south property line and your
Yes.
north property line?
Yes,
Okay, so in terms of not only the vegetation, but if there's going to be fencing.
yes.
Mr. Al-Shafi, would you want to?
Yeah, I'm looking at just the specifications of where they all go. Sorry.
Just to
Thanks.
clarify as well, there's existing, on that southern portion, there's like existing vegetation there right now?
30 trees.
But-
There's a bunch of
Right.
well, you're calling it 30 trees. I don't know if those are all the way west. I would not call these things trees. I think there's a bunch of bushes
Mhm.
that are an eyesore. I would love nice trees, but they don't look like nice trees to me.
The existing, what's
existing-
existing there. So the question is, are they replacing what's existing or are they keeping what's there?
And are they putting up a fence? Because what
Right.
I heard was they were asking for more of an easement, which I thought was actually very nice, to give a little more space so that things aren't right on top of our property. But it would be nice if you cleaned it up and put a fence up. And I don't know, are you putting a road like for people to get around or are you coming up? No, okay.
No, so there'd be.
They're just alleys that go,
North,
Yes,
yeah.
they go, north-south,
mhm.
and the alleys would stop kind of right at the last townhome. And actually, that's why we're asking for the maximum, side yard setback to be increased, which was actually 5 feet. We are increasing it to roughly 10 feet.
I know, yeah,
to
I
give
heard
a
that.
little bit more space.
That's nice.
And we're adding more landscape and shrubs along that southern border. I don't recall a fence being along that southern border or the western border. There are fences between each unit, going north-south. And then there's some going, like a 5-foot going perpendicular at each of the back of the or the 2-story, the 5.
It would be nice if there was a fence there, especially, I thought first that these were homes that you were selling, but what I heard was they're rentals. Is that true?
So we have the ability to go either direction. Our intent, given interest rate markets and the consumer market and what we feel there's a demand for to be able to have a actual tenant or a buyer, is to rent them at this point. However, if by the time we start construction and things change and there's more of a homeowner market, then that's what we will pursue. But we will be managing the association, which would keep everybody in line with a certain rules and regulation within the complex.
You know, no offense, but I've, lived in a number of places and people aren't on site, a lot of things happen. And so anyways, it would be nice if there was a fence on that separate our property, and if they took down those bushes, or if it's on the other side of the fence, I don't really care, but.
Right, and looking at this landscape plan, it obviously does come into property line. You will see a significant, once we do remove the earth and break ground for this property, that's the only line that we will have landscaping. And you can see from this plan that, as Ramsey mentioned, we are adding a significant amount of shrubs and trees at that area. And while I understand, I can almost envision the type of tree you're talking about, where it's more of like a weed tree. It grows like a weed, looks like a weed.
They're bushes of weeds.
Acts like a
and,
weed.
Allergy season, it's an eyesore.
If some of those do remain, I know most of the time they do get demoed during the earthwork phase, but we will be installing along that line new landscape to provide a buffer there. And
will it be like a hedge, and not necessarily a hedge, but will it be a separation, so our properties, so people aren't like cutting through our property area?
Correct. Correct. They will be dense shrubs, and I know now if any of them, as we're calling these weed trees, they might be on your property line, they might be on ours. If they're on ours, we will do our best to get rid of them. But also, I know we're just on the property line, so I know the line you're speaking is, it's pretty thick. So even if we said that all of those weed trees would stay, or if they were on your property line, once we get rid of the vast majority of everything there and install the new landscape, you will have a much cleaner look. And then
That would be nice.
And then if that was an upgrade and whoever from your property or whoever owns your property goes up to your property line wanted to say, hey, we can now get rid of a few trees here to really improve the look, I think would be a good way to go about it.
I don't think they're on our property
Okay.
line, but I thought I heard when they were talking in the report about some native plant vegetation that you're going to try to keep, and so that was my concern. Was that all those bushes? And if there isn't a fence and we're keeping all that stuff,
I don't believe that there would be a lot. I mean, it might be some of the larger trees, but that's where our stormwater is running through, is kind of at the southernmost point of those buildings. And so also our water main, or our water lines are running that way too. So there's gonna be a lot of site work that's gonna come in that general area. So there is gonna be quite a bit of ground that's interrupted, but I mean, that's why we also have a plethora of new trees going in, which won't survive if we keep all of the native trees. And so that's something that we can, we'll have to kind of assess once we're at that stage in development as well. It's hard to say exactly what's gonna be there and stay.
did I just hear you say that that's going to be like your water retention area? So now are we going to have like flooding in there?
No, so it's all underground. There's the stormwater basin, and our site would be graded to keep, so our site is part of a MWRD district. MWRD is one of the most strict stormwater detention districts in Illinois. So they're very stringent on keeping whatever stormwater you have on your site, you're obligated to get off of your site. It can't pass over to other owners and kind of drain that way. So all of our area would be graded accordingly to go into our storm drains. And then which goes into a detention pond that's actually a village property on the west side. So
Okay.
it won't be draining onto your site. It's
Right.
just there'd be storm drains that will help kind of collect it.
Because I mean, obviously, when you cement everything up, you are going to be displacing a lot of
Correct.
ground where things would soak into, so.
Yeah, and so we're taking that into consideration on actually the northwest corner. There's a bioswale that would actually retain water on our site and distribute it to the village's detention system over a period of time, rather than all volume at that single moment of rain.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
That's all my questions.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you, Peggy.
appreciate it.
Yes. Is there anybody else wishing to speak?
Before they speak, I just want to jump in on one
Sure.
comment. The village does not and cannot regulate whether these are rentals or home owner occupied. We can regulate land use, zoning, things like site design. So regardless, as a private property owner, you're allowed to own your land and live on it or rent it. So that's all.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Yes, miss, if you can state your name, sign it as well, and then I will swear you in.
Keisha Garnett.
Keisha?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Keisha, do you swear or affirm that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please proceed.
I want to thank Peggy. She actually, I didn't know she would be here, but she basically brought all my concerns here, and I just wanted to second what she's saying about that property line. If a fence is possible, please make it possible. But by all means, the weeds have to go. I thought they were native grasses or something. I don't know what they are now, but they've just majorly taken over. And I was also wondering, is there any way I could get a copy of these? I didn't know that there was a workshop previously about about what was going up. Is there any place that I can get this?
The plans for this public hearing are posted on the village website at
Okay.
tinleypark.org/PH, short for public hearing.
Okay.
So you can see the plans that we're discussing tonight for the public hearing, as well as the previous meeting on July 20th. That was a workshop. The workshop was intended to get plan commission feedback. So we do the state mandated notice for the public hearing.
Okay, so it'll have these drawings?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And Keisha, if you're looking to watch the workshop, you can go on Tinley Park, or what is, the YouTube page, the Tinley Park YouTube page, and just look for the, was it July 20th Plan Commission meeting?
Okay.
And I think it was item 2 perhaps, but, and again, this staff report you can find online on the village site. Some of the comments here will address in red what was discussed at the workshop. And so, any concerns the commissioners or the petitioners had agreed to is brought up in this report as well. So you should get all those items that available, and please read them. It's good to have informed neighbors.
Sounds good.
The
And,
the video is also on that website that I just mentioned. So you'll see the packet as well as a video link. So no need to go to YouTube.
Okay, sounds great. And just for you two gentlemen, I know you've had a lot of conversation with the buildings north of us, and I'm not sure if our HOA has reached out yet, but I know Peggy is on the HOA. Do you have contact information that we can have?
Let me see if I have a card, but.
I have one,
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask the commissioners, any other comments?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
As we're looking at the landscape plan on the northwest corner, I can't make out what that little structure or whatever that is in the northwest corner,
That's the bioswale.
at the end of 179.
That's their bioswale, like for the drainage, the MWRD, yeah.
40 by 40-foot bioswale with the snow storage identified there.
Thank you. And the other question I have, if I may,
Yes.
what is the current zoning of the property?
It is in the Legacy District, zoned NG for Neighborhood General.
So we can do whatever we want on that, is that correct?
It has different regulations than your standard R districts, so that's all under the section 12 of our zoning code.
What's the density permitted?
I know it meets the I know this project meets the density. I don't know it off the top of my head.
I'm with
The legacy, no, the zoning, actually, legacy
Is
is
denser.
meant to promote high density.
Correct.
I just wonder if there's an existing density that we're asking for variances from or adding to, or
The only variations we're asking for, or the petitioner's requesting, is the setback from 5 to 10 for their southern portion, and that's to accommodate a public utility easement. And then the alley or the drive access is only supposed to be 20 feet wide. It has to be 31 per the fire department, their regulations, so they can get a fire truck in there. So
Right.
those are their two variations. Those are hardships brought on not by petitioner, but by our regulations.
understood.
Okay, excellent. With that said, if there are no further questions or discussion, may I have a motion to close? Go ahead.
One question, Chairman. What is the correct title of the new street? I see two different titles in the plans. The one I'm looking at right now says 178th Place, but I believe the landscape plan says 179th
Yeah.
Court.
So we fixed all of those.
Oh.
I noticed that when we resubmitted, there's one drawing that still had it, which was the emergency, like fire truck route, which says 179, 107, let me say it right, 178th Court. But the proper street is 178th Place.
Okay.
And we'll make sure on any submittals moving forward that it's consistent throughout.
Okay.
Which all of our submittals except for that fire truck turning route, they're correct at this point, so.
And since this is a private roadway, it is not required to have the naming of that on the plat of subdivision.
It could be anything.
Okay.
Joe's Street. And just for my understanding, the setback that was at 5 feet and they were requesting for 10, do you have to request that the setback become 10 feet, or can you just build it at 10 feet?
It's actually a maximum, as opposed to what you're typically ready as a minimum. Because of the legacy plan wants that wall of, buildings. So they said 5 feet maximum setback, not minimum. So typically, in a regular zoning district, you'll see 10 feet, you got to make sure your thing's 10 feet. It wants the buildings to be really close together.
So you had to get permission to move.
They had to ask permission to actually go farther away. It's called a build-to line, so they're required to build to it. And they couldn't accommodate a utility easement for us, so it's just kind of one of those things that goes against what Public Works and what we need for access.
Thank you.
Okay, good comments. If there's no further comments, may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion made by Commissioner Gaskell, seconded by Commissioner Bettenhausen. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. The public hearing is closed. Staff, can you please present the standards at this time?
Up on screen, I have the standards for site plan architectural approval, which do not require drafted findings of fact, as well as for site design. And standards for variation, these are all listed in the staff report. Number one, regarding yielding, the property cannot yield a reasonable return if permitted, to be used only under the conditions allowed by the regulations in the district in which it's located. The requirements for public utility easement locations and the need for fire department access limit the usable area on the elongated site. The property cannot yield a reasonable return if following the current regulations, as the public utility easement would have insufficient space within the side yard, and the fire department would only be able to access a structure that fronts Oak Park Avenue. Number two, plight of owner is due to unique circumstances. The district regulations state a 5-foot maximum side yard and require the building to front Oak Park Avenue. The village needs a 10-foot wide public utility easement along the south of the property. These regulations conflict and are caused by the village's regulations and not the owner's preference. The fire department needs a specific width for the alley for emergency vehicle access due to the unique depth of the property from Oak Park Avenue. Number 3, the variation, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the locality. The proposed attached housing structures will not alter the character of the location, as the adjacent land uses to the south are also townhome structures, and the adjacent land uses to the north are multifamily dwellings. The architectural style and density are in line with the adopted legacy plan. And we have the 4th variation standard up on screen, which does not require findings. And I have motions, 3 motions up on screen, first with plats.
Okay, thank you, Lori. At this time, I have a motion number 1 regarding the final plat of subdivision and plat of vacation.
I'll make a motion to recommend that the village board grant approval to the petitioner Ramsey Elacheffe on behalf of Oak Park by EEP LLC final plat of subdivision and final plat of vacation approval for Oak Park Towns subdivision located in the Legacy District's Neighborhood General Zoning District in accordance with the final plats dated May 5, 2023, submitted and listed herein, subject to the condition that both the final plat and the plat of vacation are subject to final approval by the village engineer and village attorney.
Okay, do we, a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Hamilton, seconded by Commissioner Gatto. Lori, could I get a roll call?
Commissioner Bettenhausen.
Aye.
Commissioner Gaskell.
Yes.
Commissioner Gatto.
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Yes?
Commissioner Merrick.
Yes.
Chairman Gray.
Yes. Okay, the motion is carried. Now we'll move on to the second motion, motion 2 regarding the site plan and architectural approval. May I have a motion on the floor?
I'd like to make a second motion. I'd like to make a motion to grant the petitioner, Ramsey Elacheffe, on behalf of Oak Park by EEP LLC site plan and architectural approval for Oak Park Towns subdivision to develop a 31-unit townhome development at the property located on vacant land at the west side of Oak Park Avenue, north of 179th Street, excuse me, currently addressed as 17822-17828 Oak Park Avenue in the Legacy District's Neighborhood General Zoning District in accordance with the submitted plans in the August 3, 2023 staff report and subject to the following conditions. 1, final engineering approval of all plans by the village engineer and any other jurisdictional approvals, including but not limited to Will County DOT, MWRD, and IEPA. 2, building additions, including any sunrooms and 3-season rooms, are not permitted unless a uniform design to the additions in compliance with all codes is approved by Plan Commission. 3, a final photometric plan shall be submitted and approved by village planning and engineering staff with the final I permit. 4, the project shall be completed in one phase and shall start with a 3-story townhome building fronting Oak Park Avenue to be completed first. At no point shall more than 10 other unit occupancies be approved before the 3-story townhome building is completed with full occupancy.
Okay, motion made by Hamilton, seconded by,
What does Will County got to do with this?
I was gonna say the same thing. Property, Will County Department of Transportation,
That should say Cook County.
okay,
definitely Cook County.
good catch, commissioners. Can you just, Commissioner Hamilton, just say amended to Cook County?
Amended in item 1 to limited to Cook County, DOT, MWRD, and IEPA.
Okay.
Thank you.
Second clarifying question too.
Sure.
So, if there were sunrooms or 3-season rooms or any of those things, it couldn't be the plan commission alone that approves it? Wouldn't it have to go through the full village board and other things, or do we approve at our level? I thought we make recommendations.
This is not located in a planned unit development, so Plan Commission does have the ultimate authority for site plan architectural approval.
Thank you.
Is that okay if I ask a question?
Go ahead, Ramsey.
Sorry. I just want to understand. So it says at no point shall more than 10 units, other units occupied be approved before the 3-story townhome building is completed with full occupancy. Does that mean someone has to be living in it, or you get an occupancy permit, meaning you've completed construction?
It means an occupancy permit, meaning you've completed construction and it can be occupied.
Thank you.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
So, motion made by Commissioner Hamilton, seconded by Commissioner Gaskell. Lori, could I have a roll call?
Commissioner Bettenhausen.
Aye.
Commissioner Gaskell.
Yes.
Commissioner Gatto.
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Yes.
Commissioner Merrick.
Yes.
Chairman Gray.
Yes. Okay, the motion is carried. Now may I have a third motion regarding the variation approval?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend that the village board grant the petitioner Ramsey, how do you say? Al-Shafi, on behalf of Oak Park by EEP LLC, a variation from section 10.2, oh, sorry, what is that? 12.2.d.9 to increase the maximum requirement interior side yard setback from 5 feet to 10 1/10 feet, and a variation from section 12.3.e.4.c to increase the maximum width of 2-lane driveway from 20 feet to 31 feet, consistent with the submitted plans and adopted findings of fact as proposed by the village staff in the August 3rd, 2023 staff report.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I heard seconded by, or motion made by Commissioner Gatto, seconded by Commissioner Gaskell. Lori, take a roll call, please.
Commissioner Bettenhausen.
Aye.
Commissioner Gaskell.
Yes.
Commissioner Gatto.
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Yes.
Commissioner Merrick.
Yes.
Chairman Gray.
Yes. Okay, motion 3 is carried. So this item will be going to the village board on August 15th. Mr. Al-Shafi and Mr. Doyle get with the petitioner, get with the staff on how to attend. But I do want to thank you for your time here today, and I'm also going to commend you with your openness to talk with the residents to the north and south. I think that is something that's vital when people come in. You not only talk the talk, you walk the walk. So I'm commending you on that. Well done. And good luck. With that said, we will move on to the third item on tonight's agenda, which is a public hearing to consider the village board grant Leonard McHenry on behalf of Gas and Wash a special use for an automobile service station and an automobile car wash and variations. Urban design overlay, parking minimum, parking locations, wall, ground signs, etc., to permit a gas station with a convenience store, car wash, and 2 drive-through restaurant uses at the property located at 18301 LaGrange Road, the southeast corner of LaGrange Road and 183rd Street, in the B3 General Business and Commercial Zoning District. Site plan and final plat approval are also being considered at the meeting. My understanding is the petitioner requested this get pushed back again to the August 17th, 2023 Plan Commission meeting. So my understanding is they're going to republish it.
I can clarify, so this is not a public hearing for this item.
Yep.
This item was scheduled to come to public hearing today. Back and forth with the petitioner, we didn't have enough review time to review it appropriately to get it in front of you. So we're going to move it again to August 17th. Since this was the third delay, we decided, let's start over, let's republish. So we republished in the newspaper, sent out new mailers. So it will be coming, planned to come on August 17th. This was just, since it was supposed to be today, we kept on the agenda just to let you know that it's been,
Okay.
the project isn't starting over, but we just wanted to republish for full transparency for
Fair
everyone.
enough. So there's no reason to make a motion to push it to next meeting?
No motions need to be
Because it's
made.
being
This is
republished.
almost
Okay.
informational, but since it was supposed to go today as a public hearing, we wanted to clarify.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jason. So then the continuation or the republishing of this item will be for the next August 17th scheduled Plan Commission meeting. So we'll move on to go to the order. Before I get to that, I do want to just mention offhand, I don't know if some of the commissioners are aware of this, but Paula Walrick passed away on July 31st, suddenly. So as many of you with the Plan Commission and the planning staff, Paula has really touched and left her imprint on the Village of Tinley Park. And I know personally, she really was special for me. We would talk a lot on some of the stuff regarding all the development in Tinley Park, and we didn't always agree on stuff, but like she was always open to discussion. And I think that's the healthy element of any plan commission, where we may not see things, but we can confidently and in a gentleman or gentlewomanly-like manner talk peaceably to try to get a meeting of the minds on these things. And so I don't know the circumstances. I know she's retired about 2 years ago from Tinley Park, and I see her Facebook posts of doing art and playing with her grandkids. And so my sincere condolences go out to Paula's husband and her children and her family. But she definitely touched Tinley Park. She was a friend to Tinley Park. She was a loyal public servant, or I should say servant to the community. She will be missed. And if there's anybody with the commission that would like to say a few words, now is your chance. Oh, I also have the information on her wake and funeral that I will give out afterwards. Okay, well, so this is her memorial service is this Sunday, August 6th. There's a visitation from 10 a.m. Up until the service at 1 p.m. at the Kurtz Memorial Chapel in Frankfort at 65 Old Frankfort Way in Frankfort, Illinois. And I'm sure you can go online and look up information if you need to. But I just want to say Paula will be missed. So moving on to the good of the order.
Yeah, I have just a few items. Pete's Fresh Market, the foundation is being poured for that right now. So that project is starting to be built. Banging Gavel is nearing completion. If you've kind of driven around, it's starting to really come together. On the outside, it's looking just as good on the inside. I don't have a specific date, but very soon. We are hoping they will be open. And then finally, the comp plan, RFP was posted, probably right around the last meeting. Getting a lot of interest in it. We'll have a pre-proposal meeting on August 10th for any firms that want to come and see and ask questions, and then it'll close on August 25th. So, and then we will start evaluating proposals and moving forward. So that project is off the ground.
Okay. Excellent. At this time, I'll ask if there's comments from the public. Seeing no public here, we'll move on to adjourn the meeting. May I have a motion to close the the Plan Commission meeting?
So moved.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Bettenhausen and seconded by Commissioner Gaskell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed? Okay, motion is carried. This meeting is adjourned at 8:28 p.m. Central Time. Okay, have a good weekend, everybody.
You too.